Japan and China are on high alert as Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi scrambles jets to intercept Xi Jinping's drones near the Taiwan Strait. Radar lock-ons, military maneuvers, and rising tensions signal a dangerous standoff, putting regional security at risk and raising questions about how close the two nations are to conflict. Tensions in East Asia have reached a critical point as Japanese and Chinese forces confront one another in increasingly aggressive aerial maneuvers near the Taiwan Strait. Over the past several weeks, Japanese fighter jets have been scrambled repeatedly to monitor and intercept aircraft and drones associated with the Chinese military. These incidents mark a sharp escalation in activity over one of the world's most sensitive maritime corridors and have raised concerns among regional observers about the possibility of miscalculation or unintended confrontation. Japan's response has been swift and determined. 15s from the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force have been deployed at unprecedented rates, often in response to Chinese aircraft entering zones monitored by Japan for national security purposes. Officials in Tokyo report that the People's Liberation Army Navy's fighter jets, including the carrier-based J-15 TAF, have at times directed fire control radar at the Japanese interceptors. Such actions are widely regarded by Japanese defense analysts as deliberate provocations, with radar lock-ons interpreted as a precursor to potential missile targeting. This is an extremely dangerous action and completely unnecessary. It puts both sides at risk of miscalculation, Japanese officials said in internal briefings. The Ministry of Defense has lodged formal diplomatic protests, asserting that China's maneuvers violate international norms for safe military aviation and endanger regional stability. China, however, has dismissed these concerns, framing Japan's claims as misleading and overly sensational. Spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that Chinese aircraft were conducting routine training exercises, and the Japanese fighters repeatedly entered their operational airspace, creating potential hazards. Beijing emphasizes that its actions are defensive in nature and accused Tokyo of inflating tensions for political purposes. Underlying these confrontations, broader strategic considerations, Japan, under the leadership of Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, has taken a notably assertive approach to national defense since assuming office in October 2025. Takaichi is focused on reinforcing Japan's deterrence capabilities, expanding surveillance networks, and coordinating closely with regional allies, particularly the United States. She has repeatedly underscored the significance of the Taiwan Strait to Japan's security, noting that a conflict there could have direct consequences for Japanese territory. An internal Japanese security report highlighted that the current administration views any potential attack on Taiwan as an existential threat to Japan's survival. Takaichi's interpretation of Japan's 2015 security legislation permits the self-defense forces to engage proactively when national survival is at stake. This represents a subtle but important shift in Japan's post-World War II defense posture, moving from a strictly reactive stance to a more proactive deterrence strategy. Japan has also increased the deployment of advanced surface-to-air missile systems on strategically significant islands, alongside the expansion of radar and aerial surveillance capabilities. These measures, officials note, are intended to provide early warning against intrusions and to ensure rapid response to any hostile activity. While Tokyo frames these deployments as defensive, Beijing has repeatedly condemned them as provocations aimed at containing China's regional influence. At the same time, unmanned aerial vehicles have become a focal point in these confrontations. Reports indicate that Japan scrambled jets in response to suspected Chinese drones operating near Okinawa's Yonaguni Island. These unmanned aircraft, capable of long-range reconnaissance and surveillance, complicate the airspace environment and increase the potential for accidental incidents. The Japanese Air Self-Defense Force has maintained a near-continuous presence in the southwestern air defense region, which includes Okinawa, precisely to counter such incursions. From Beijing's perspective, the central issue remains Taiwan. The Chinese government continues to assert that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China and has signaled that unification is a strategic imperative. President Xi Jinping has repeatedly emphasized that Taiwan is the most important issue in China-U.S. relations and warned that external interference could provoke confrontation. Military exercises around Taiwan often involving joint air, naval, and missile units, are presented by Beijing as necessary measures to deter foreign powers and assert sovereignty over the island. Despite these tensions, China insists its activities adhere to international norms and are defensive in nature. Nevertheless, Taiwan and its allies view them as destabilizing. During heightened military drills, Taiwan has reported airspace disruptions affecting commercial and civilian flights, drawing concern from local authorities and international observers. Taipei maintains that such actions are attempts to intimidate both the island and neighboring states, particularly Japan. The Taiwan factor is central to the broader regional security calculus. The United States, while maintaining a policy of strategic ambiguity, has strengthened arms sales and security cooperation with Taiwan, reinforcing the island's capacity for self-defense. Tokyo views this as a shared interest in regional stability, aligning Japan and the United States in a common strategic posture. Prime Minister Takaichi has emphasized the ironclad nature of the U.S.-Japan alliance, seeking assurance that Washington would respond appropriately in the event of a crisis in the Taiwan Strait. Taiwanese leadership has also been vocal. President Lai Ching-te has stressed that the island's future is determined by its citizens, not external forces, and that any attempt to coerce Taiwan would face domestic and international resistance. His message resonates strongly with the democratic electorate of Taiwan, but has heightened tensions with Beijing, which regards such statements as provocative and potentially destabilizing. Even as rhetoric heats up, efforts to prevent broader conflict continue behind the scenes. China has maintained high-level diplomatic channels, with President Xi emphasizing the importance of stability and peaceful development. Nevertheless, the frequency of radar lock-ons, fighter scrambles, and drone incursions creates an environment in which accidental escalation remains a serious risk. Both sides publicly assert that they do not seek outright conflict, yet their actions demonstrate a willingness to accept higher levels of confrontation as part of strategic signaling. For Japan, the emphasis remains on deterrence. The self-defense forces are being prepared not only for defensive operations, but also for rapid responses to threats in surrounding air and maritime spaces. The combination of advanced missile systems, aerial surveillance, and fighter patrols is designed to signal both capability and resolve. Analysts argue that this approach may deter overt aggression, but could also lead to misinterpretation of actions, potentially raising the risk of an accidental clash. China's strategy, conversely, is centered on signaling strength and asserting territorial claims. Military exercises, including live-fire drills near Taiwan, serve multiple purposes. They reassure domestic audiences of the government's commitment to reunification, they deter foreign intervention, and they test the readiness of Chinese forces in contested areas. Xi's statements, delivered to both domestic and international audiences, reinforce the message that China will defend its claims robustly while seeking to avoid direct confrontation with other major powers. The involvement of drones introduces an additional layer of complexity. Unmanned systems are increasingly deployed for reconnaissance, electronic surveillance, and rapid intelligence gathering. Their presence can trigger defensive responses from opposing forces, sometimes leading to a chain reaction of scrambles and countermeasures. The integration of drones into regular military operations near Taiwan and Okinawa highlights the evolving nature of modern conflicts, where unmanned platforms play a strategic role alongside traditional fighter aircraft and naval units. Regional observers stress that the Taiwan Strait remains one of the most volatile flashpoints in Asia. Japan's proactive defense posture, Chinese military assertiveness, and U.S.-Taiwan cooperation intersect in ways that make miscalculations highly consequential. Analysts note that a minor incident, a radar lock-on, a scrambled jet, or an unintended crossing of airspace could escalate quickly if both sides interpret actions as hostile. Japanese officials have stressed the importance of careful, measured responses while maintaining vigilance and readiness. Tokyo has avoided the provocative gestures that could be misread by Beijing. Similarly, China has called for restraint from regional powers, framing its military maneuvers as defensive exercises. Despite these assurances, the risk of conflict remains elevated due to the proximity of opposing forces the speed of modern aircraft and drones, and the high stakes associated with Taiwan's status. Prime Minister Takaichi has emphasized that Japan seeks stability and peace, yet she has also made clear that Tokyo will not compromise on its security. Her administration has strengthened intelligence sharing, joint exercises with allies, and rapid deployment capabilities. These measures, she asserts, are designed to prevent incidents from escalating into larger conflicts while signaling to adversaries that Japan is prepared to defend its interests decisively. From China's perspective, maintaining pressure on Taiwan and signaling resolve to external powers are essential to safeguarding national sovereignty and regional influence. President Xi's strategy combines military demonstrations with diplomatic messaging, projecting strength without seeking outright confrontation. However, the combination of assertive rhetoric and increasing operational tempo in contested airspace elevates the potential for accidents or miscalculations that could spiral into broader crises. As the situation unfolds, both Tokyo and Beijing continue to manage the delicate balance between demonstrating capability and avoiding direct conflict. For Japan, proactive defense measures, including missile deployments, fighter patrols, and advanced surveillance, serve as both a deterrent and a protective measure. For China, military exercises and strategic signaling reinforce claims over Taiwan while seeking to prevent foreign interference. The convergence of these strategies underscores a broader reality. East Asia is experiencing a period of high-stakes tension where routine airspace encounters carry significant symbolic and strategic weight. Every radar lock-on, every scramble, and every drone sighting is scrutinized for intent and interpreted as part of a larger game of deterrence and signaling. Analysts caution that even carefully planned operations carry the risk of accidental escalation, given the density of military assets and the speed of modern aerial and unmanned systems. Despite the risks, leaders in Tokyo, Beijing, and Taipei have so far avoided actions that could trigger an outright military conflict. Japan's reliance on careful monitoring, rapid response capabilities, and alliance coordination reflects a strategy aimed at managing risk while maintaining national security. China's insistence on sovereignty and deterrence, paired with public messaging emphasizing stability, reflects a parallel objective, projecting strength while minimizing the risk of a broader confrontation. In conclusion, the East Asian theater remains a region on edge. Japan's enhanced defense posture under Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi signals a commitment to proactive deterrence and readiness in the face of evolving threats. China, under President Xi Jinping, continues to assert territorial claims and strengthen its military posture around Taiwan. The intersection of these strategies, combined with the integration of modern technologies such as drones and advanced radar systems, creates an environment in which vigilance, measured responses, and careful communication are essential to prevent unintended escalation. As events continue to unfold, regional observers, allied powers, and international stakeholders will be closely monitoring the skies over the Taiwan Strait. She aware that the stakes have never been higher and that every decision could have far-reaching implications for peace and security in the region.